how you would present yourself to your supervisors, and you will definitely shine brighter there. Focus more on the past papers, read the study text, come back again to the past papers, write answers, so that way you can definitely face the exam successfully.
Hello, and a very warm welcome to the second episode of the Learning Pod, brought to you exclusively by Infinity Learning Space. Today we have with us yet again another special individual who is Ms. Tharika Hewage, an attorney at law in the private bar. She holds an LLB honors in the second upper division from the Faculty of Law, University of Colombo, and an LLM honors first class in commercial law from the Staffordshire University of the UK, and as well as a diploma in CIMA. She has also worked in several private companies and has experience in commercial, contract, and company law areas as well. And not only that, but she is also an academic as well as a researcher. Well, Ms. Tharika Hewage, welcome to Learning Pod. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me here.
Ms. Hewage, I want to ask you, because we know you're a lawyer by profession, and we would love to know more about the profession and how you took, or what pathway you took to be in this profession.
Yes. So speaking of myself, obviously, I became an attorney at law about 4 years ago. So I have a wide array of experience in the private bar and also in the government bar as well, state bar. I worked there for a couple of years. So how I became a lawyer is obviously I did my LLB from the Faculty of Law, University of Colombo, where we had to study a lot of subjects over a period of 4 years. So thereafter, I did my LLM from the University of Staffordshire, the UK. So obviously there I studied, I researched into business law, commercial law, company law, those areas. And thereafter, now I'm currently reading for my PhD from the University of Colombo Faculty of Law. And currently I'm working as an assistant manager, legal and governance in Allianz Insurance Lanka Limited, whereas I am also doing my private practice as a lawyer and having experiences and also making myself more qualified in the area of commercial law and also other civil and criminal law areas as well. So that is the journey so far in brief, I would say.
Wow, very inspiring. Okay. And also speaking a little bit about, since you mentioned that the experience has helped you,
yes.
Can you also talk us through the journey of the research papers and the academic papers that you've also written? Because I know that you have authored quite a few. Could you tell us a little bit about that as well?
Yes. So most of my research again has been into areas of commercial arbitration, then into pyramid and Ponzi schemes, which I'm researching right now for my PhD. So these researchers obviously helped me to give more weightage to what I teach, obviously, because going into nitty-gritties of those areas would definitely help me to teach my students well and to give more precise understanding into law, because obviously law is a very complex subject, I would say, and a little bit maybe difficult for students to understand. But because I have understood, I think, using my research very well, I can break it down into very small areas and structurize it and teach it to students.
Wonderful. And also speaking about students, yes. How has your experience been with Infinity Learning Space so far?
Yeah. So far, obviously, I have taught online for the students, so has not had any one-to-one experience with Infinity students, which I'm definitely looking forward to in future. But so far, it has been a really good experience with the students. I've taught them the revision classes and also the syllabuses as well. So far, it has been really great, and the staff has been very supportive, and they have given all the support possible. So thank you very much, students, and also the staff here at Infinity.
Also, speaking about how it's been an online platform so far.
Yes.
since Infinity Learning Space is an online platform, and since you are teaching more of a theoretical subject, how has that been, and how do you usually tackle the challenge of getting through to the students on an online platform?
Yes, so I would say for chartered accountancy students, they have to give more priority to accounting, management accounting, financial accounting. So what I found is that they give lesser importance, obviously, to law, but that is totally understandable based on their syllabuses. So how I would like to approach this subject on an online platform again is to teach them exactly what they should learn for their exams, because law is a very complex subject, as I mentioned before. So you need a lot of time to understand, but here you don't have a lot of time. You have to plan, focus on your exams and target the exams. So in order to give that facility to students, to help them to face the exam properly, we are going to focus more on the exam and give them exactly what they should learn. So even in an online platform, what we look forward to give the students is to give them the general idea, teach them with examples, with stories, and make them understand from their day-to-day life, because law is everywhere. We meet it everywhere in our day-to-day life, whether you are on the road, whether you are in an institution, whether you're working. So you need to know the law. We live with it. It's just that we need to understand. So when we give that understanding and tell them exactly what they should study, whether it's the sections in the Companies Act, statutes, and then thereafter the case law, what they should study. So cases also, they have to remember like a story. So you have to remember what are the facts of the story of the case, and then the principle that was upheld. So like that, we are giving them fuller support to understand the law and also to face the paper easily for their exams. So that's the plan so far.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. And also, speaking about how there are a lot of, you mentioned there are case laws and there are Companies Acts that are involved. So which means that people or students that are studying for CL04 don't only have to, or they can't really stick to the study text as such, right? So what else are the other reference materials or resource materials that you would recommend for students to refer for CL04?
Yes, so obviously study text will be it'll be like the Bible for you. You need to know what is in the study text. That is number one. So thereafter, if you want to understand the subject more, you have to have a copy of your Companies Act. That is also very important. So as a lawyer, we know as lawyers, the sections in the Companies Act are very complex, even for us lawyers to understand. So we don't expect the students to go through the sections in the Companies Act and to understand. But there are certain sections we will refer you to go through the Companies Act and to have a broader understanding. And also case law, apart from what we teach you for the exam, if you want to have a simpler understanding, what you can do is you can always go online, watch on YouTube, or else you can read some article, a paper article, or like there are certain websites like LexisNexis and also JSTOR. There are websites where you can refer to go to understand the cases. You can just type the case online and have a reading of what's there online. So what I would suggest the students is, before you come for a session, I would definitely say what we would discuss in the next session. So you can just go online, type it on YouTube, just watch a video and get a basic understanding. Thereafter, we can dig deep into the subject and get a broader understanding.
Okay, very interesting. And also, since you mentioned that, since there are a lot of cases and stuff, it's also very relevant to real life, I'm assuming, right? The subject is relevant to real life instances and also companies. And most of our students who are attempting CL04 are already employed, either in audit firms, corporate world, and so on. But that would apply to their work as well. How relevant is CL4 to their real life?
Yes, of course. So when you, after you become a chartered accountant, you will either work in the private sector, public sector, or you would start your own company or like business. So whichever the field you are, you need the law. You need to know the law because, for example, if you are starting up a company, you have to first incorporate the company, and then you have to, after you start the business, you have to give annual returns. You have to do the taxation. You have to pay the taxes. So all those things are there. So to get that understanding, you need to study this subject hard, and you have to understand Companies Act and the corporate law, because all those provisions, the legal provisions in relation to what would apply in the practical scenario when you start working, if you have to give an advice to your supervisors, this is the platform for you to understand corporate law and to get the basic understanding, because you will come across a lot of laws in future. It's not just the Companies Act. You have to look at the Inland Revenue Act for taxation and for many other acts. But to read the acts, to understand the case law, we will give you the first initial few steps so that it will help you to understand whatever the law that you will come across in future, and it will definitely add a greater advantage to your CV, to your how you would present yourself to your supervisors, and you will definitely shine brighter there.
Yeah, and also speaking about case laws,
Yes.
I'm just gonna touch on that because there are certain case laws that a lot of our students actually do know and do read through, but they don't really know how to or what to apply in when attempting the paper or in life. How would you help out with that?
Yes. So if you look at the past papers for corporate law, you would see that most of the factual scenarios that are given to you to answer the question are based on the case law that's already there. So you have to, what all the students have to do is they have to understand the important cases. I will definitely help you to understand what are the cases which are important, because there are certain cases which you can't miss out. Those are landmark cases in the history of the UK jurisdiction or even in the Sri Lankan jurisdiction. So there we will tell you what is the case that you have to remember. So when you are reading a case, there are two aspects. One is the facts of the case. There are facts. They will say, okay, in this year this happened, and this is, if you take Carbolic Smoke Ball Company, which is a very interesting and a landmark case. So they will say, okay, this person went to a supermarket, bought this particular cosmetic item, and then by using it, there was an issue. She got a rash or something like that. So then you should understand, okay, this factual scenario is based on this Carbolic Smoke Ball Company's case. So then you have to remember what is the principle. That is second component. What is a principle that was upheld by the court? So there the court looked at product liability of how a product liability should be held, would go to the company, and how the company should provide a merchantable, a quality product to the customers. So that is the principal aspect of it. So that is how you break down a case, the facts and the case law. So then when you know the case, if you have an understanding of the case, then when you get the factual scenario on the paper, you will, even if you don't remember the name of the case, you will know what to write, the principle, and how to apply it to the situation, and that will definitely give you an advantage when answering the question.
Definitely. And speaking about advantage, yes, when students are attempting examinations, I'm assuming, especially in a topic like law, there is a particular structure that you need to go through. What is the recommended structure in your opinion?
Yes, so the recommended structure would be, first you have to read the question properly. That is number one. Then you understand what is being asked in the question. So when you're answering a law question, there is just simple method called IRAC. You understand the issue, you give the resolution to it, and then you give the application to the law, and finally you give the conclusion. We will definitely go in depth into that. So simply you have to give the structure of what you are going to discuss in the first paragraph of your answer, and thereafter state the facts, give the applicable law, you have to state the section in the Companies Act, give the relevant case law, and thereafter you have to give the conclusion. That is simply how you should structurize your answer and give the answer to the question. So if you follow that method, but you have to remember your law and give the law, then you can definitely score high marks.
Interesting. And okay, so since we're talking about the paper and the structure and all of that, well, let's also look a little into the examiner's comments, because when we were going through the examiner's comments, something that did or was mentioned in especially the June 2024 examiner's comments was that certain answers were not up to the satisfactory level.
Okay.
Where do you think the students are going wrong?
Yes. So I think according to the comments that we have received, I've understood that the students find it difficult to apply the law, like we have discussed so far. So to apply the law, you need to know what is applicable to the scenario. So especially in relation to more than the MCQ questions and the short answer questions where it's a direct answer, when it is an essay type question, there is a little bit of information that you have to put in. You have to apply the law. I think that is where there is a little bit of lacking and deficiency. But if you study what we tell you, exactly what to study, and then have an understanding of the principle, we should be able to overcome the deficiencies that we have had, the answers not being up to standard. Then I think we should be able to go above the standard and give a more fruitful answer and to address the question properly.
Definitely. And are there certain skills that you recommend as well for students to develop over the time before they attempt the papers? Are there any specific skills?
Yes. So the skill would be for you to first, now that you have a limited time to face the exams, you have to go with the past papers, because as I've mentioned in this entire interview, the law is a very vast subject, but you can't do all of that within a limited period of time. So you have to focus on the important areas. So first, before you study a particular chapter, let's say the chapter on directors' duties and liabilities, just go through the past papers first and see what sort of questions have been asked. So there might be questions like how many directors should be there, what is the minimum number of directors that should be there in a private company, or else they can ask what are the types of directors, how many types of directors are there. So when you know the type of questions they ask, then you can go through your study text and focus more on the areas that are questioned, because same type of questions are being asked in each of the year. So then you focus on the areas that they ask questions the most, but you can't leave out the other areas as well, but have a basic understanding on the other areas too. So then after that, you have to write answers to the questions. When you write the answers only, you will realize where you are going wrong, where you are lacking knowledge. So if you find it difficult to answer the past paper questions, go back again to the study text, read it up, memorize, come back again and answer the question. So in this way, if you practice yourself in this way for a period of, let's say, 3 months, that would be more than enough for you to face the paper successfully.
Okay, that's perfect, because speaking of 3 months, we have just about that time till the December sessions.
Yes.
So for someone that is starting off with CL4 or studying CL4, what would your recommendations be? What would your suggestions be from Infinity Learning Space for them to develop now? If they're going to sit for the December session? Yes,
I would say Infinity Learning Space would be a very great help to you if you are facing the exam in December this year, because you have a limited period of time. But by listening to the lectures that we do here, the revision classes especially, you can get a very good understanding and a very big help from what we do in the sessions, because we will be going through the past papers and we will direct you to what you should study, and we will specially flag the areas that you have to study, because without knowing certain areas you can't face the paper. There are areas like that. So there are certain important areas where you must remember, but you can't leave out the other areas. other areas also, certain areas like prospectus of a company, then how to incorporate a company. You don't need to know a lot of detail, but there is a little bit of detail that you should know. So by listening to the lectures that we have already done, and also the revision classes will help you to understand the syllabus properly and to face the exam, to pinpoint on what are the areas that you should remember for the exam. So that way, during these 3 months, focus well on the sessions that we are doing as lecturers. The lecture, go through them thoroughly, listen to it, because some of the words are very important for you to write on the paper. So listen to those lectures properly, maybe multiple times even, doesn't matter, and focus more on the past papers, read the study text, come back again to the past papers, write answers. So that way you can definitely face the exam successfully.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Tharika Hewage,
Yeah.
for being here, for giving us such valuable advice, which I'm sure our students will really find useful when attempting CL4. So thank you once again for being here with us at the Learning Pod. Thank you once again.
You're welcome, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, that's it from us from Learning Pod. Stay tuned for more episodes with Infinity Learning Space.
Infinity Space.